I first noticed the cars around 3 in the morning. It's funny how your brain filters out the ordinary until the ordinary decides to become strange. I lived on Maple Avenue, a quiet suburban loop with speed bumps and street lamps that flickered like they were breathing. Nothing ever happened there. That's why I moved there, but something changed in late October. I couldn't sleep. I never could after my wife left, nothing dramatic, just a slow drift that ended with her taking the dog and half the furniture. So I'd sit on the porch with black coffee and listen to the crickets. It was the only time the world felt honest. The first car was a silver sedan. It rolled past my house at 3:12 a.m., going exactly the speed limit. No music, no hesitation, just a car on a street that had no reason for traffic at that hour. I watched it turn left at the dead end where the road curled into a cul-de-sac. 30 seconds later, it came back. Same direction, same speed. Then it looped again. I counted 7 passes before it finally drove away. I told myself it was someone lost, maybe a delivery driver or an insomniac like me. But the next night there were 2 cars, a blue hatchback and that same silver sedan. They moved in perfect synchronization, one following the other at a steady 40-foot distance. Lap after lap. Left turn, disappear for half a minute, then reappear. Like a procession, I started recording on my phone. I don't know why, maybe to prove I wasn't losing my mind. The videos are still on my phone. They show nothing but headlights and empty streets. But I remember the details my camera didn't catch. The way the drivers never looked at me. The way the windows were always too dark to see inside. The smell of gasoline that lingered even after they were gone. Heavy, sweet, wrong. By the 3rd week, there were 12 cars. 12 cars every single night, starting at 3:07 a.m. and ending at 3:48 a.m. I timed it. They came from the direction of the old highway, slowed to exactly 23 miles per hour as they passed my house and performed the loop. Left at the dead end, around the cul-de-sac, back past my porch, and then gone into the dark. I asked my neighbor, Mrs. Vang, if she'd noticed anything unusual. She said no. She said she sleeps with a fan on. She looked at me like I was one of those men who collects conspiracy theories in shoeboxes. I started sleeping less. I'd watch from my living room window with the lights off, tracking the cars in a notebook. I wrote down makes and models, license plates. I even tried photographing the drivers, but every shot came out blurred like the camera refused to focus on their faces. On November 9th, I saw a red flag. I didn't see a flag, I saw a man. The first car that night was a black SUV. It made its turn, disappeared, and then nothing. No return. The second car paused at the dead end. It sat there with its brake lights glowing like 2 red eyes. I watched for a full minute before it crept forward and vanished around the bend. The third car pulled up to my house and stopped. It idled in front of my mailbox. A white sedan, older model, rusted along the wheel wells. The engine hummed. A single song lyric played through its open window. I heard it clearly, even from 30 feet away. A woman's voice singing something I almost recognized. Then silence. The driver reached out and placed a red flag, the kind you use to mark your mailbox for outgoing mail, into my box. He raised it high, then he drove away. I stood frozen. The cars kept coming. 4, 5, 6, they all raised the flag on my mailbox one by one. Some drivers reached out with bare hands, others used a stick. One driver rolled down his window and I'm almost sure I saw his face. He had no eyes, just smooth skin where his eyes should have been. And he was smiling. I called the police the next morning. They sent Officer Ramos, a young man with a kind face who wrote down everything I said and nodded at the right moments. He checked my mailbox. No flag. He watched the street cameras. No footage of any cars matching my descriptions. He said maybe I'd been dreaming. He said maybe I should talk to someone about my stress. He didn't know about the sound. That night I heard it for the first time. After the last car passed, 3:48 a.m. sharp, a sound came from the cul-de-sac, not an engine, not footsteps. It was like someone dragging something heavy across gravel, but the gravel was 2 blocks away. It was a wet, scraping, rhythmic sound, like a body being pulled by its ankles. It lasted 45 seconds, then nothing. I locked every door. I pushed a chair against the front door. I didn't sleep. The next night the cars had multiplied. 23. I counted headlights sweeping across my ceiling, counted the moments of darkness between them. The ritual was the same. Turn at the dead end, pause, raise the flag, drive past. But this time one of them slowed almost to a stop in front of my window. I saw her clearly. A woman, middle-aged, with gray hair pulled into a bun. She wore a blue dress. She turned her head and looked directly at me, and her face was not a face. It was smooth, featureless, like a mannequin left in the sun too long. But her mouth, she had a mouth, and it moved. She said something. I couldn't hear it through the glass, but I read her lips. She said, "You're last." Then she drove away. I didn't call the police again. What would I say? That a car with a blank face told me I was last. That I knew with a certainty that rooted itself in my bones that these cars were counting down. That they had a list and I was on it. I checked the neighborhood. I started with Mrs. Vang, no answer. I knocked and knocked until the landlord came. He said she'd left a week ago without notice. Her apartment was spotless. The refrigerator was still running, and inside were 12 jars of red liquid. I opened one. It smelled like iron and salt. I closed the door and left. Jim Renfrew, 2 houses down. He was a widower who spent his days tending roses. His gate was locked. His roses were dead, blackened as if they'd been poisoned. A single car key sat on his welcome mat, engraved with the logo of a brand I didn't recognize. The Pearsons at 142. The garage door was open. Inside, a sedan sat with its engine running. The driver's seat was empty. The radio played static. On the passenger seat lay a red flag, still moist with fresh dirt. I'm not stupid. I know what this looks like, but I haven't left. I can't leave. Because last night at 3:48 a.m. after the last car passed, I walked to my mailbox. I don't know why. I didn't want to. My body moved before I could stop it. The gravel bit into my bare feet. The streetlights hummed. I opened the mailbox. Inside, there was a photograph. It showed my house from across the street. The photo was dated. Yesterday, and in the window, my window, someone had drawn a red circle in permanent marker around a shape. A figure standing behind the curtain. I don't own curtains like that. I don't have curtains at all. I looked up. My living room window was dark, but I saw movement, a silhouette, someone, something, standing where no one should stand. It didn't move like a person. It moved like a car on a loop, consistent, mechanical, perfect. I ran back inside. The silhouette was gone. The house was empty, but the cars will come again tonight. They always come. And tonight, when they pause at my mailbox, I'm going to be waiting. I'm going to see what happens when someone isn't on the porch, when someone is in the car. I'm going to learn their loop from the inside. If this is my last recording, my last post, my last anything, know that I found the photograph in my mailbox. And I found the writing on the back. Small, neat handwriting in black ink. Maple Avenue, 38 houses, 23 cars, 15 flags, 12 jars, 0 survivors. You are the last gap in the circuit. I don't know what that means, but I know I'm writing this in my car in my garage with the engine running. The flag is in my hand. The garage door is open, and I can see the headlights coming up the road. 1, 2, 3. They're all here. I'm going to pull out and join the loop. I'm going to turn left at the dead end, and I'm going to see what happens when the circuit is complete. If you live on Maple Avenue, look for the red flag. It means you're next.